So the Enneagram does a really nice job of breaking down your different personality traits and your personality patterns so that when you are thinking about positions and doing your job search, you can kind of align company culture and qualifications and what that position is going to look like day to day with your personality traits and find alignment there, because that's our ultimate goal with this program, is to help you figure out what you want and what you don't want, so that as you're searching for your job, you do find something that brings you fulfillment and satisfaction, which is very possible. We're very optimistic about that. And we've had a lot of success helping people kind of think outside the box, or even find traditional roles too, maybe in different contexts, different populations that better match their personalities and their skill sets. So yeah, so again, any questions, you feel free to put them in the comments, or you can join live as well. Do you want to start say anything, Joni? I'm taking over here.
No, I think that's a great opening start. And, if probably the majority of people in this group have taken different types of personality tests at some point or the other, if you're through graduate school, exploring different career paths, even back to high school, taking personality tests. But this one is really, really helpful in being able to dive in a little bit more into what your motivation is and what types of positions are going to align well with filling your cup and trying to find joy in your work again.
For those of you who are joining us live, can you put in the comment section what your Enneagram type was, and we'll pull it up on the screen. We can talk a little bit about the personality traits. If you don't want to share, that's okay. I will happily. I'm a 3, so we can pull up a 3. Joni's actually a 3 too.
I'm a 3.
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple of seconds. I know there's a little bit of a delay in the live stream, and get some comments. And then we'll talk about the saboteur test, which is pretty cool. That one I just took recently. And it tells you how you sabotage your success without even realizing it. I don't see any numbers, so maybe we're not comfortable sharing, so that's okay. I'm going to go with 3. Okay, so Joni and I are both 3s. So competitive achiever. This is, if you're a 3, this is what your strengths are. So you're ambitious, you're efficient, adaptable, driven, and results oriented. So for me as a 3, I'm not going to, oh, Caitlin, you're a 3 too. And then Barbara is a 1 with a 9 wing. Okay, we'll pull those up.
Oh, okay.
All right, so these apply to Caitlin, Joni, and I, because we're all 3s. 3s unite. Okay. So for me, a position that wouldn't be aligned with these personality traits is a position that looks the same every single day, where it's very boring. I need to be challenged. I'm very results and outcome oriented. So if I'm not working towards a goal or feeling like I'm achieving something, like I'm doing something purposeful, I tend to get very restless and very bored, and I struggle. I struggle in those types of environments. So I learned that early on, and then the Enneagram kind of made it, more concrete as to why I struggle in those types of contexts. Can you speak to that at all too, Joni? I think it's entrepreneurs too, because we kind of create our day.
Yes. I think the redundancy in a position for a 3 is very not satisfying. So I can give an example. I was in leadership and management and home health, and it was, the last position that I had before I became fully self-employed was essentially managing schedules and operations for a department. And even though there was change every single day, there was not as much ability to make long-term changes and manage projects and actually see, because it was almost like being in a hamster wheel where every day kind of felt like just trying to get through the day and just trying to manage versus actually having a product or an outcome, which is much different than being self-employed when, you really are ultimately responsible, but you also can manage projects and really, I think, feel like you're in control a little bit more of your future and the direction that you're taking. So that was a reason why I made a change to be fully self-employed.
Right. So again, if you're a 3, then you're going to want to find a position that is very outcome results oriented and doesn't look the same every single day, because you like a good challenge. nothing against SNFs, but a skilled nursing facility might not be, if you're going into the clinical realm, might not be the best, because the day-to-day treatments, and even in rehab sometimes too, especially if you're very ortho based, the treatments can look very similar. Like an ortho job to me I think would kill me if I was doing knees and hips every single day and all my interventions and treatments and treatment planning look the same. I would have a very hard time with that. So I think threes do well in leadership and management positions when they're properly challenged and they're in a work environment that nurtures their personality traits and not somebody who's stifled. I know as a 3 too that I'm terrible when I'm micromanaged. I have a very hard time when I'm micromanaged. I'm a very independent and goal-oriented employee. So when someone tries to micromanage me, I feel like it stifles me and it makes me resent that, and it makes me not. I can do my best on my own. So that's a good thing to know too, that if you are applying for a new position, talk about leadership and management style in the interview. Because if they, have a leadership style that does not align with your personality traits, you are not going to be happy in that position. I had a great job from the outside, but my director micromanaged me so much I was miserable. And I really liked the position, but I ultimately left because I did not like the leadership style. So I think those are things to consider. Let's pull up a 1 for Barbara. I used to have these all written down, but now I can't remember them all. Oh, Barbara, you're a strict perfectionist. And what's 9? And an adaptive peacemaker. Ooh, those two are almost contradict a little bit. Interesting. All right, so let's see what Barbara's traits are. Integrity, principled, objective, conscientious, structured, quality-minded. So for Barbara, when she's seeking a new position, she might want a very structured day. She might want to arrive at 8 a.m. and leave at 4 p.m. and have a very structured schedule where she knows exactly what to expect. It sounds like she's detail-oriented, quality-minded, so maybe quality improvement, quality assurance type positions might be good for Barbara. Let's see what her thinking patterns. Strong sense of right or wrong. So she's not going to do well, or Barbara, I'm talking about you like you're not here. Barbara, you're probably not going to do well in positions where your morality is challenged, which can happen in healthcare. We do see a lot of fraudulent things happen, unfortunately. And for a 9, that's not going to sit well with you. So making sure that you're in a position that the company has as much integrity and values the same things as you do is going to be important for you as a 9. Let's see. Maybe critical or impatient, even though they're trying to be constructive. All right. So Barbara and Caitlin, I'm curious, do you feel as though your Enneagram result is valid? Do you feel, or were you surprised by your result? Curious to know that. Give them a second. Yes. You ladies are speaking my language. Every single statement is awesome. Good. Great point regarding how our personality types interface with our leader supervisor. You realize this across several relationships. Yes. And I always tell people too, when you're in an interview and when we get to the week for interviewing, we can talk about this a little bit more, but it's always a good thing to ask about leadership and management styles and how you are assessed as an employee, how they do your performance evaluations. Because if you're like me, you might struggle with the micromanagement. So good. How about you, Barbara? Do you feel as though your results were indicative of how you feel your personality traits actually are, or were you surprised? Not as rigid as the 1 is described and very empathetic. Yeah, and that makes sense too, because you're in healthcare. So I feel like to go into healthcare, you definitely have to have a higher level of empathy and emotional intelligence than the typical person. I feel like that's a big reason we go into healthcare. So that makes sense. And the thing, Barbara, you got number 9 too. So in 9 is the complete opposite a little bit. So I do see where there's a little bit of conflicting information there, because 9 is agreeable, understanding, patient, supportive, and genuine. But I think the theme between 1 and 9 is that you are somebody who has a high level of principles and integrity and morals. And I think that's the same for 1 and 9.
Well, and I think thinking about when it talks about the
And
blind
blind
spots
spots.
for the two, it might be, and this is a bit of an assumption, but based on these profiles, it might be that a position that has more ambiguity might not be the best fit, that really doesn't have a lot of structure, a lot of policies or procedures in place. If your personality type likes structure and routine and consistency and rules and really likes that sort of black and white, more straightforward type of setting versus, for example, a new department or a new position or a role that's just starting, or when it's sort of a ground up building type position where there's a bit more ambiguity and a lot more gray area. So that's where some of these personality traits, both of the strengths and the blind spots, can really factor into the type of role and position as far as like the job description, but also the type of setting that you want to work in, and the type of work that you want to do that really is going to be the most satisfying for you.
And we just had somebody else join. I can't see their name, just says Facebook user, so I'm not sure who it is, but it says that they are a 9 and a 1 as well. Okay, so you got the same results as Barbara. You guys should chat.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen that combo before.
Mm-mm.
That is a very interesting combo, because they are kind of, they're the opposite ends of the Enneagram. 1 and 9 are the opposite ends, like the opposite ends of the spectrum. It's Anne. Hi, Anne. Thanks for joining. Very interesting. Okay, who did anybody take the positive intelligence sabotage test? I took it I think 2 weeks ago, and I sabotage myself because I get restless, which was very true for me. I do get very restless. But the key to this one is it tells you, so I'll go down to mine just because, I don't know if I can get to it. It tells you how you kind of self-sabotage that you might not even realize it. So there's different ones. There's the avoider, the controller, the hyperachiever. I'm the restless. Here we go. I'm always looking for excitement. But yeah, it'll break it down for you a little bit. And the reason we kind of want you to take these assessments is because it gives you a better understanding of yourself and what you should be doing and what would bring you satisfaction. And I also want to talk about motivators, what motivates you in your career, and how your motivators change as you go through different stages of your life. And the example I always give is that as a new graduate, I was very motivated by salary, and I was willing to work really hard, and I wanted a good paycheck. I had a position before I'd even finished my second clinical rotation. I'd already accepted a position at a medical university. And then as I went through different stages of my life, and, I got married, I have 2 small children, where once I was very motivated by salary, I became much more motivated by flexibility and the ability to kind of have, if I needed to come home, if my child, was sick, or I wanted to get them off the bus. So flexibility became a major motivator for me. So it's very important to kind of realize that as different things change in your life and you're looking for that, business and personal life balance, that you have to figure out what your motivators are and what inspires you. And things that you can consider are, like I said, salary, hours, flexibility, but leadership style and management. If you're an achiever, you might want a position that has a lot of room for growth, which unfortunately in traditional clinical positions, there's not a huge amount of, there's not really a ladder to climb. You kind of get to a supervisor or maybe even a rehab director role, and that's kind of it. So if you're motivated by achievement, which I am, I'm an Enneagram 3, a position where I don't have a goal in front of me would be hard for me. And Joni, I know you can speak to that a little bit too, because you've had some challenging parts of your life, and Joni had a preemie baby. So I think it shifts your concept of what you want out of your career.
Absolutely. And I do think that also as you're going through your career, your personality type and some of these things can actually change. Because I think historically I always thought, well, as with the Myers-Briggs, you're always an INTJ or what have you. And it's interesting because as you grow and you mature in your career and in your life, things do actually change, and your career goals can change along with that. And so, I realized, and I always really enjoyed leadership and management because I am an Enneagram 3. But then I also realized that my leadership style is very collaborative, and I don't do well in teams or settings where there's a lot of high conflict. That just is very stressful for me and not a very good fit. And so I actually took a break from leadership and management for a while, and have done a little bit of more soul searching, done a lot of more personality tests. I am getting certified in emotional intelligence, mostly for, my own satisfaction to figure out, okay, well, what other sorts of things do I want to do in my career and really fill my cup, and which direction do I want to go? And, how that aligns with what Tanya was saying with your career goals and just the trajectory of your position, because it might be that salary and benefits aren't the number one priority. It might be the flexibility, the autonomy. It might be, working with a positive team. It might be, being able to work with patients at a different capacity that is more motivating for you. And whatever that might be, using these tools to also be able to really get to know your motivators and what types of positions that might be a good fit for you, and explore that is really important, because you might learn a lot about yourself that will help you with your job search, which ultimately will help you with tailoring your documents in your interview process. And you might discover a different path that actually is a much better fit for you that you didn't anticipate.
Absolutely. Oh, my son just came in, distracting me. Okay, I'm gonna remove our screen share. And Anne, I think it's Anne, said that they got the stickler and avoider for her saboteur on the positive intelligence assessment. So it does give you quite a bit of information, and it's really nice for a free assessment. So if you haven't taken that one, definitely take it. I think it'll give you a little bit more insight into reasons why you might be not getting where you want to be. So, all right, I'm going to stop my screen share. We'll pull us